This is the Criterion Creeps podcast, and tonight we're delving into that Laserdisc collection with Spine 31, I believe. Yes, it's still Spine 31 as we jump around every quarter of our episodes, every 25, I guess.
Is that the pattern?
Yeah, it has been.
Okay.
It's what it's solidified as, I guess, at this point. So, I mean, can't wait for Scaramouche in like 6 months.
At least it's a fun thing to say.
Scaramouche.
Yeah.
Yeah, that movie that no one wants at all. No one.
Nobody wanted any of this, but we're doing it.
But do they want A Night at the Opera from 1935, directed by Sam Wood?
I don't know.
The tagline, RJ.
Yeah.
Don't miss it. The funniest picture ever made.
At the time, or
I don't know. I'm pretty sure most comedies might have made such claims. Because then people go, well, why would the poster lie? That's false advertisement.
It's a good point. Look at all the things that we've realized doing this podcast. Look at this.
Look at this.
Wonderful.
The synopsis. The Marx Brothers take on high society and the opera world to bring two lovers together. A sly business manager and two wacky friends of two opera singers help them achieve success while humiliating their stuffy and snobbish enemies.
Are they snobbish?
They're hoity.
Are they stuffy, though?
A little toity. I mean, the one guy is.
Which one?
The one opera singer guy.
Giliberto?
Yes. Yeah.
Whatever that guy's name is?
He's the kind of guy who thinks his farts don't stink, RJ.
Excuse me, but we can all agree that that is just a human thing. Am I right?
I mean, most people probably find them funny. Their own.
Farts?
Unless they have... I mean, there is also shame.
I mean, everyone should feel shame. That's what makes people great, but, whatever. We're talking about the opera, Jarrett. This is
A Night at the
Laserdisc.
Opera. Laser discs.
Uh-huh.
The size of vinyl records, loading them up into your player, firing up. People are like, you know what? I want a little bit of Marx Brothers in my life. RJ,
Sure.
what do you know about those Marx Brothers? Have you seen before today a Marx Brother picture?
Nope.
Why is that?
Because I didn't care.
Why?
I know who the Marx Brothers are. I've seen snippets or clips from Marx Brothers things. Growing up, my grandparents were always Abbott and Costello fans, and that's what we watched in that house. Not this Marx Brothers baloney, or definitely not no Three Stooges.
Definitely not no Three Stooges.
So, in terms of the comedy groups, yeah, we were an Abbott and Costello family, so
Okay.
we didn't get a lot of Marx Brothers.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Did you know that they were in fact brothers?
Are they actually, though, or
They
is
are-
this the
they
way
are-
that
they
like
are
the White
act-
Stripes
They
are siblings?
they are actually brothers.
Okay, that's cool, I guess.
There's 5 of them.
Where are the other two?
Well, Zeppo for one, Gummo. Well, so they were in the Paramount movies, and then finally they dropped Zeppo because they were like, Zeppo doesn't got it.
Are those their real names?
What do you think?
Well, I mean, Harpo and Groucho and Chico,
so they're Leonard Joseph Chico Marx. We had Arthur Harpo Marx. We have Julius Henry Marx. That's Groucho. And Milton Marx was Gummo. And Herbert Manfred Zeppo Marx.
So Zeppo, I understand. What about the other one? What happened to him? Was he an accountant or something? Wasn't an actor?
He was also one of the vaudevillain family members. But he just that he didn't quite fit into their movie picture side of things.
Well, I mean, it is what it is. You can tell Chico and Harpo are brothers.
Well, apparently, like once you actually take their wigs off, like the scare wig of Harpo, and strip them down, they like apparently look a lot alike. They have the same receding hairlines. In the, I think it's Duck Soup, they have the mirror gag where it's basically they think they're looking at a mirror, but it's one another, and they do a shtick, and it's like, and it was actually Chico, I think, and like you can't tell them apart.
Yeah.
Chico
and Harpo.
Yeah. But once you put the grease paint on that mustache, you just can't tell.
Why don't you tell me about that mustache a little bit? What is the intent with this grease stash?
The grease stash? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe he didn't want to actually have a mustache when in the early days, so he just painted it on.
Is that kind of like what you do?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I was curious. I wasn't interested enough to Google it. Or by interested, I mean, I didn't have the energy to do it. But anyways, yeah, so I wasn't a big Marx Brothers guy, but I know that you're an old man, and you like that Buster Keaton, you like that Chaplin, you like all those guys. Do these guys fit in there?
Oh, yeah, they absolutely do. And I mean, what's significant with the Marx Brothers, I guess, is that these are guys that did not exist in the silent era for obvious reasons, because I think a really important element of their act is to be able to hear them.
The banter?
Yeah, because they're a stage act that kind of, they would do these shows. Like, so... I don't want to be a patronizing person. Are you familiar? Are you familiar with vaudeville? Like the
I remember the Fellini dip into that thing.
Yeah.
Variety Lights, was that called?
Yes. Yeah.
I still don't know what vaudeville is, but I'm familiar with the name. So
yeah, I mean,
you can explain to other people though; they might not know.
It's kind of like you know that scene in The Prestige. You know how they have like everything's happening on a stage and there's curtains. And movies didn't quite exist. They were kind of around, but they were like, you'd go to the Nickelodeon. So people would actually see actors perform on the stage.
To what end?
So vaudeville they were like for comedy purposes. Like these were not operas. Yeah. These were not like dramas. We're not doing Strindberg here. This is this is buffoonery. Making people laugh.
What's that like?
I don't know. I mean, sometimes I hear people laugh when they hear us mowing the lawn. I mean, what does that tell you?
That yard work is tiresome and
standards are low.
Not stimulating. Yeah, standards have always been low. That's the only reason that we've been as globally successful as we are, I believe.
Yeah. So
okay, so I still don't know what vaudeville is, but continue.
Well, it's just a fancy way. It's a classy way of saying comedy men.
Comedy men? So you said it was like The Prestige. Is that like the abracadabra thing? Is there a lot of executions on the stage in vaudeville?
No, that'd be more of the Grand Guignol.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
There's no theater of cruelty here. But I guess Groucho Marx is kind of an acidic person who rips into people, and that was part of his shtick. Mm-hmm. You read through that Wikipedia recap of the history of these guys.
Oh, sure.
And their shtick, and how they were just kind of like general comedians, but then over time they started honing it down. Because I guess the Groucho character just started like becoming very snide, and this got more and more over, and then they just kept playing into that. And I mean, you can kind of see that. So they make 4 movies for Paramount, which I've got right here in this box set that I'm showing you that no one else can see. The Silver Screen Collection. I haven't upgraded to a Blu-ray yet.
You're such a nerd.
Yeah, I mean, you got movies like the Animal Crackers, Coconuts, Monkey Business, Horse Feathers, Duck Soup, and I mean, they basically made versions of these via play before they got adapted into film. So they kind of worked out all the kinks and tried to like refine these shows, and then they started making movies. And so, how would you say this?
The movies.
The movies, the pictures, the motion
Yeah.
pictures. Yeah, so yeah, they would do both. And then they became movie star comedian actors that I guess like most people were very, very familiar with. And I still think we're pretty, I have no idea how they're received at this point in time, because I mean, people don't know who Roger Corman is. Maybe they're like, what's these Marx Brothers? I mean, Groucho Marx, I think, probably is like Charlie Chaplin levels of famous. I don't know if people watch Duck Soup longingly at this point in time, other than it's often in those like top 10 comedies the AFI does, like without fail. What is it here? Actually, in fact, 5 of the Marx Brothers' 13 feature films were selected by the American Film Institute as among the top 100 film comedies, with 2 of them, Duck Soup and Night at the Opera, in the top 15. So did you know, RJ, that A Night at the Opera is in the top 15 comedies according to the American Film Institute?
Of what time and era?
Whenever they would have done that particular list, probably the last time they would have done it, like 2007. Do you want to know what's in that? Do you want to hear what's in that list?
I'd love to.
Okay,
lay it on me, man.
So, number 15, The Philadelphia Story, directed by George Cukor. You love it. Number 14,
hilarious.
Bringing Up Baby, directed by Howard Hawks. Number 13, Young Frankenstein, by old Mel Brooks.
Hilarious.
Number 12, A Night at the Opera, directed by old Sam Wood himself.
It's about time.
Number 11, The Producers, from old
Of
Mel,
course.
from Big Mel,
Sure.
the other Big Mel. Airplane, from the Zuckers and Abrahams. The Graduate.
The Dustin Hoffman movie?
Yep. It Happened One Night, Frank Capra. MASH, from Bob Altman, who we're going to be watching next week. Blazing Saddles, from Mel Brooks. Look at that, 3 Mel Brooks in the top 15. And there's Duck Soup.
Okay.
And Annie Hall. Dr. Strangelove. Tootsie.
Okay.
And number 1, Some Like It Hot.
This is fucking list written by an 88-year-old man. Like, what is this? This came out in 2007?
I think so.
That's...
Or was 2000, it looks like.
2000. Even so, get bent, man.
I don't know if they're...
Well, you ain't going to put any Adam Sandler movies in there? Come on. You're not going to have Half Baked by Dave Chappelle on your top comedy list, Jarrett? What about Basketball?
Nope.
This is the highlight of the comedy reel. I don't know about you. I've mentioned before, I think Mel Brooks is fine, but it's like I find the amount of love that is put onto him. It's like, yeah, I realize when Mel Brooks movies came out, but like nowadays, it's like, does anyone actually think that affectionately about these movies that is under the age of 65?
Yeah.
Come on. That isn't a pretentious nerd boy who listens to Criterion podcasts? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Old grandpas.
It is grandpa stuff. Well, that list is ridiculous. But I mean, it's not surprising. I've heard those things talked about all the time.
All the time? How many of those have you seen?
A good chunk. I've seen the Mel Brooks ones. I've seen that other shit you were talking about. Not the Marx Brothers ones, I'll tell you that much. Was Tootsie on there?
Yeah.
I've seen parts of Tootsie. I haven't seen the whole movie, though.
Okay.
Is Tootsie in the Criterion Collection?
Yes.
Well, so I'll see it eventually then, I guess.
You will see it eventually, and I'll see it again. But that's for another day. Today, we're talking about Otis B. Driftwood.
Okay.
So, we're introduced to Otis B. Driftwood. He's supposed to be meeting a wealthy dowager, Mrs. Claypool.
Wow.
And he apparently has stood her up, and she's wanting to know where he is. A waiter is sent, dispatched to find him, and there he is sitting right behind her, having breakfast, dinner with another woman. And we were introduced immediately to, if you have never seen a Marx Brother movie, the Groucho Marx shtick, where he talks a mile a minute, running circles around these people, sweet talking and backhandedly insulting them at a rapid clip. Were you using subtitles while watching this, RJ?
I wasn't until that scene.
Well, that is the first scene.
I started them, I think, as soon as the movie started then.
Yeah.
No, I think I was like a minute in or something, and then I was like, oh, I should turn the subtitles on. So I did pretty quickly.
Yeah, there's some that vintage 1935 sound recording going on.
It's a little warbly.
Things are a little bit off. And when everyone's talking to that sort of transatlantic voice, and then you also have the Marx Brothers cadence. Sometimes it's a mile a minute, and you don't want to miss all of Harpo's lines.
Harpo's the best. He's the most eloquent and articulate of the bunch, I think. 90% of communication is body language, Jarrett. It's nonverbal.
So this Otis B. Driftwood, also an alias of characters in Rob Zombie movies.
Wow. I didn't even piece that together. The whole time I was like, Otis Driftwood. I was like, why is that?
Rufus T. Firefly. They're all Groucho Marx pseudonyms.
Oh,
they literally say it in the movies.
What, in the Rob Zombie movies?
Yeah, they explicitly say it.
Do you think that I was watching those movies with a fucking pen and like pad, and I was like, oh yeah, no, I was watching those things with my head in the clouds, man. Like all movies I watch.
See, Rob Zombie's definitely not 65 years old, and he knows about those Marx Brothers.
He's how old do you think he is?
Robert Zombie?
I guarantee I'm not even. I'm looking away. I bet he's 62.
He is 55. A spry 55.
That's still old enough that he's an old man. How old are you? 48?
Not yet. So anyway, so Otis has got this grift going on. He's convinced this Claypool that I've got the connections, and I'm gonna manage you and marry you, my love. We're gonna get you into high society, get you the respect you deserve. We're gonna get you buying into this guy, this Herman Gottlieb's opera company, and all it's going to cost you is, what is it, 200,000 or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, which, like, that's a lot of money in 1935. I'm not going to lie.
I mean, yeah, I was actually surprised because when I think that was when I turned subtitles on, because I heard him say it and I thought he said 20,000. I was like, yeah, that's probably about right. And then it popped up 200,000. I was like, whoa. Is that such a thing exist at that time? What's going on here?
And I just want to point out that we're usually in comedies, the plots mean nothing. But, I mean, it's, again, as we've talked about many times before, talking about comedy in itself is very difficult because
it can be.
They're going to bust out, here are my favorite quotes. So this does have a plot. It has more of a plot than, I guess, most of the Marx Brothers movies. That's kind of one of the criticisms that Marxists have against this, is because it's too formulaic.
Get bent. Come on, guys. Don't do that. Jeez.
Yeah. So anyway, so obviously Otis has also got his side hustle going on with Gottlieb, kind of like, hey, I'm going to get you hooked up with this so you can get this big time opera singer, Rodolfo Laspari, the greatest tenor since Caruso. What do you feel? How do you feel about Caruso, RJ? You a fan?
I mean, I know many tenors that I like more. Pavarotti being one of them. He is a way better tenor. And then there's this one guy. I think his name's Robert Zombie. That dude's a wicked tenor. I really like that guy.
So there's a B plot to this, which is also a criticism of the Marx Brothers films, where they're like, well, you can't just do the Marx Brothers shtick. You got to have like something to bring in the ladies in the cheap seats. You got to be like, oh, you got to have a love story. So usually there's a bunch of boring people. In this case, we have chorister Riccardo Baroni, and his best friend, who is Fiorello. That is Chico, who is this Jewish man doing his Bronx Italian persona. That I don't know. Chico, I will say, is my favorite of the Marx Brothers because he is, I don't know, his brand of stupid is so good. I don't know. I really love a brilliant stupid character. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. You're talking. What's your favorite Chico thing? The duplicates thing with the
Oh
or
man,
just him in general. I
just
like.
him just talking, his riffing, like especially in the Paramount movies more because of the I gotta keep track of this. This is the Warner or this is MGM. So this is the MGM era. I've only seen this. I don't know if I've seen a day at the races, but I have seen now all of the Paramount stuff, and they get like the first ones are pretty rough. They're not particularly good, but they get better and better as they kind of get their formula down. And I will say, I really actually do like Night at the Opera. I genuinely laughed out loud at like the strangest things in this because it's just like I don't know. They do some things really really well. But getting back to the plot, so
Oh, right.
Fiorello,
Yes.
he's like they're all like trash people. They're just like they're scamsters. They're always in it for 10%. They always want their cut, and they're always swindling, which is also going to endear me. But they're like almost like too good of guys in this because in the previous films they just like rip everybody. They are agents of chaos in the world, just basically to give everyone like what for. And this though they're like, no, we're kind of like in the pocket of the heroes. Like we're going to help out, and you're going to watch us do our bits that we've kind of figured out. Be it the stateroom scene or the more like kind of the contract scene that I guess I should also mention. I guess I didn't mention this when I was asking you about your Marx Brothers experience. So I found out about the Marx Brothers just through like watching. Like I was one of those weird kids that would watch
Super.
old like black and white stuff when it came up on TV, and I kind of knew who the Marx Brothers were because of Looney Tunes. Because I would see those things, and I was like, "Who are these guys?" Like this Groucho Marx guy is like pretty weird and funny. He talks odd. He's got the glasses and the mustache, and there's like kind of like the iconic like Groucho Marx costume that people like. It's like glasses attached to a big nose and a mustache, and you're like, "What is that?" Oh, that must be really cool. That must be really good. And I remember it must have been like on a Christmas day on like some channel or other, and they were playing Marx Brothers stuff, and I was like, oh my god, like as a little kid, this is amazing. Like this is so cool. It's like these, like it's the old timey things, like from a different era. Like everything sounds weird and like seems just a little bit off. It feels like Wizard of Oz, but it seems more chaotic. There was something off about it. And then years later, like when I was in high school, I was reading the comic book Cerebus, and in Cerebus, about halfway through volume 1, they introduced this character called Lord Julius, and I'm reading it. I'm like, what's happening here? And I'm reading this. I'm like, why does he talk like this? And like when you're reading comics, most times like they're not very well written, and the characters all kind of sound alike. But I remember that was one of those comics where I'm reading it, and I was like, why is he talking like this? And I'm like trying to figure out what's going on. And then I start realizing, because they start introducing other characters, like, and I'm like realizing, holy shit, like Cerebus is just using like the Marx Brothers, and like they're like they're actual characters in the story now, and he's doing the shtick because obviously Dave Sim is a huge Marx Brothers fan, and I'm like, fuck, this is like amazing. Like, and he like nails the shticks like really well, and kind of extrapolates based on watching the movies how they would actually talk, and figures it all out. So it's amazing. So I have like a real soft spot, I guess, for this stuff because it's grandpa-ness, I guess. And like I do think that like some of the material they do, I mean, for what they were doing in 1935 is pretty great stuff. And like they do I don't know, Harpo as a character is terrifying. His face, like I don't know if it comes through so much in this one, but there's like stills and the way people like you see photographs of him, he just looks like this like imp from hell. That's just like, but he's like so harmless, but he's so menacing.
That's what people say about me, dude.
That is what they say. All the
Harmless,
all the police reports. Not enough to charge.
Well, I mean, maybe I'm. Hey, shut up. Tell me more about the Marx Brothers.
So anyway, Marx Brothers. So anyway, Driftwood and Fiorello, they come up with a scheme, and they're like, "Oh,
Sure.
hey, I can help you, and you can help me." Because he thinks that Fiorello is the manager to Laspari, but Fiorello is like doesn't want to play to that. Again, how can you explain this stuff? So much of this is completely driven by the dialogue and the exchange of the characters. You're either going to like think it's amazing or the drizzling shits.
Yeah. The what? Sorry.
Quote, the drizzling shits.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Let's keep going.
Let's keep going with that. So anyway, they all eventually like. So sometimes the movies open up with the Marx Brothers all on the same page. Other times it's about them coming together because they don't know one another until the movie begins, and they navigate the whatever the villain is that they're trying to undermine. So the movie starts in Italy.
It's definitely a place in the world that exists.
Because there's like some comment earlier on about like how they're in this country illegally. I was like, whoa, what's this about? It's like, it seems like, because they take a boat and then they go to New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, no, they do. They set sail from Italy to New York, which you could completely miss, I think. I don't think that's explicit, other than they're taking an ocean liner. So the first part of the movie is like in Italy. There's a whole scene at the docks. You get some like long, prolonged singing bit where characters are lip synced to old timey opera. And then we get the ocean liner segment of the movie.
Yep.
We keep thinking, where's this night at the opera I've been hearing about? And of course, it's like, well, that's the climax of the movie, and I think it does. I think pay off well enough.
Sure.
There's also in the role playing game system, Delta Green, the reference of a night at the opera is when shit goes down.
Everything that you just said in that last sentence is so incredibly great. It's just it's good. It's good that you're being you, bud.
It's like, because like my nebula of like things I'm interested in, they all love the Marx Brothers.
I'm well aware. It's as I've said many times, and as you've pointed out, you are an old grandpa.
I'm a grandpa at heart.
That's fine. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. So you're like Wimbledon Green or whatever the hell you're talking about, your board games and your Seth comics and your Marx Brothers. Like, I know that they all
listening to my 45s.
Yeah, your 45s and having a ski op with the doodops and having a little lollipop and whatever other jargon and lingo you're talking about.
Having a malt.
Having a malt with the kids. I like malt, and I got
egg
malt.
cream.
Egg cream. That's what it is called. I was trying to think about that for a while. Do you make egg creams at home?
I have not.
You should try.
Excellent. So anyway, So we get like one of the big set pieces of this is the stateroom scene involving a giant suitcase going into a very small room. Because like you do keep thinking, oh, that's the joke. Because first you see a very small room, and of course Groucho is, or I said Otis is perturbed that he's being shunted aside in this tiny little space, and then he has this gigantic suitcase delivered, and there's people inside of it, and you're thinking, oh well, this can't get any more ridiculous. You keep thinking they're going to leave, but oh no, for the next 5 minutes, like it keeps building. And then a man comes to take an order, and you're thinking like, oh, there's like this thing where a man keeps asking for 2 hard-boiled eggs and wanting more and more eggs, and there's a horn honking, and you're like, oh, make that another hard-boiled egg, and it keeps building and building, and then you think, okay, the scene's done, but no, it's not done. It continues on as people start arriving to the space, and then people keep effortlessly entering the space, and then everyone's like, this is fine. This is acceptable. This is the way it is. And I think that's like one of the brilliance of great comedy, I think, is the acceptance of the situation and just going beyond and just keeping going beyond that. They're not calling attention to yourself. The irony age that we live in now would deflate jokes immediately. This has that. Like there's times where it's like like literally like Groucho Marx looks at the audience and like he references like that we are watching a movie and you shouldn't take any of this seriously, but everyone in the scene though, they know where that fine line is, and this is where like I think honing down that comedy down to like a fine craft, an artisanal film craft
wow.
is truly on display.
Sure. Yeah. Why not, Jer? Why not?
Yeah.
It's fine artisan.
Artisan. Then we get some scenes on the boat of performance, because you get to see that, hey, these are all like self-taught, trained musicians and stage performers. Harpo got his name from playing the harp. And Groucho Marx is on guitar, and Chico, whatever the fuck he would have been on. But yeah, they're all like, they were lifelong performers, and they worked crowds, and they knew what they were doing. So you get a little showcase of that, and people all smiling. It's a variety show, All those lights. Sure. And then finally,
I know variety.
Absolutely. That's the spice of life.
Sure.
There's bearded men, and then there is snatched beards and impersonations and accusations, and then we finally they arrive in New York, and everyone's like, we've fleeced these rich guys, we've made it big, and they're like, get the fuck out. And they're like, oh, get the fuck out yourself. And this turns into the night at the opera, where they show up to sabotage the Il Trovatore, the debut of La Spari, and and hijinks ensues. So that all being said, I don't know. There's the scene where I just like started like laughing quite a lot was because there's a lot of blows to heads. There's a lot of concussions being dealt out, and there's a bit where there's like, oh hey, a problem's come up. The Marx Brothers address, and Harpo just produces his shoe, and he's like holding it. He's like, yeah, hit him in the head. And I was just like, I don't know. I thought that's just like amazing, because I'm like, yeah, just beat him up, just beat his head in. And you're like, that's the solution to all things. Maybe we got to go back to that, RJ. Just beating people inside the head until they're unconscious. Then there's like even earlier when the one stagehand, was it Gottlieb? No, it was Laspari. He's just like unconscious on the ground, and then I think Chico comes across him, and he puts his foot on him and stands there with his hands on his hips, and then Groucho shows up. Oh, what are you doing here? And then he puts his foot on him, and they're like, yep, and they're just standing there, and I'm like, that's incredible. Like, you never get anything like that now in comedy. It's a completely different era. How it's aged, I don't know. I can't wait to read the Who Hates of Night of the Opera. But
okay,
yeah.
So are you saying that you don't get that level of attention to like a James Franco comedy?
It's just different. It's just they would not arrive at those conclusions. Every comedy troupe's different, though. Like every generation's going to have its own idiom, and that comedy's the harshest one. It's not going to age well. Our last episode we did a gourmet thing, and we talked about a film called Gas, which is a hippie comedy, and it's like horrendous. Like it's super unfunny. I don't think it worked for either one of us. No. And it was like, man, this is just lazy shit. And it's very improvised, though, and like kind of like that was part of the time, though. And I'm sure that a lot of people watching it in drive-ins, in a van, in a cloud of pot, were like laughing their asses off, just like a bunch of people in their like fine dresses and fine suits watching Marx Brothers in a grand theater were laughing their tushes off.
Their what?
Tushes.
My God.
I'm trying. I know. I'm covering my face in shame. But anyway, yeah. How can you not bust a gut with that contract scene? We've all been there, right?
Are you talking about the first party in the contract that should be known as the first party, or is this a different party that you're referring to?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. It's a sanity clause, I believe.
That's the big old payoff, which has been referenced in Alan Moore comics. And,
so you're not kidding about the super nerd stuff, eh? This is in all of your realm of things.
It's up in all of it, man.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Very.
Wait, what were we talking about?
Hey, RJ. So I love this shit. What do you think of A Night at the Opera?
Well, Jer. Where do you stand on Abbott and Costello?
I've only actually seen Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, and I thought it was pretty good. Very charming.
Okay, so that was my basis, right? Like that's what I I don't think there's any like I don't think my grandparents were even hard set on just them, but it was like in a time early 90s when VCRs were like a new thing and you only like bought the shit that you really liked. So all the VHSs they had the whole set of Abbott and Costello. So we burned through that quite a bit. So that was like my foray into that. And the only reason I bring that up is because I feel like that and Three Stooges and the Marx Brothers for a not 80-year-old man like myself, I feel like they can get chunked together, even though I'm sure there's some guy out there listening to this who's just like, oh, you couldn't be more wrong, the Marx Brother. And I get it.
Oh, I'm pretty sure that like the same these the fans of like
The Marxists?
great comedy. Oh, they would. I can't imagine that they'd hate Abbott and Costello, but maybe they did because they were like, oh, this is like that Franco and Rogan shit. Like it'd be whatever. Like Judd Apatow, who is also a fan of the Marx Brothers.
Well, I mean that makes sense, but it's like
remember when Neil was dressed as Groucho Marx for Halloween on Freaks and Geeks?
I do actually remember that because Andrea has that's one of her go-tos, and she watches Freaks and Geeks like every couple of years or so. So I do remember that, and I was like, hey, it's the Marx Brothers. Because actually, you know what? Even when I was watching this, Andrea's like, what's the movie? And I was like, it's a Marx Brothers one, and she's like, oh, okay, because she knew what it was. Even she's never seen any of them, but she knew exactly who it was, which I think is like a long, like, I mean, whatever. But anyways. So the only reason I bring that up is because it's like, yeah, I'm aware of the scene, the gib, the jib, the jive, if you will. I know that people probably would expect me to like either not care or to dump on it, but I actually thought it was pretty enjoyable. Like I actually liked it quite a bit. I don't like it in this maybe necessarily the same way that you do, I think, where a lot of the jokes are busting your gut and whatever that weird thing you said about having a sniff or something or whatever it was. You said something weird and creepy.
Laughing my tush off?
No, it wasn't that. Maybe it was in the preamble. You were talking about like oozing things or something like that.
What?
I don't remember. It was there. I said ew.
Do you know that Queen's album A Night at the Opera is named after this movie?
Is it though?
It is. Because they have another one called A Day at the Races.
And is that one also?
Yeah. Freddie Mercury is a Marx guy.
I find that debatable. But I mean, I have no idea, so I'll take your word for it. No, I thought it was good, man. It's like I said, some of the comedy definitely doesn't land for me, which is fine. But I thought on the whole, as a movie, I thought it was enjoyable. And there were a few jokes that I actually thought were pretty funny. Like, they're really into spaghetti. And I think that's kind of funny. So there's like character introductions around spaghetti, and there's like food scenes around spaghetti.
You see that man over there?
See that man over there?
No.
And it's just a huge thing of spaghetti. It's like behind the spaghetti. I think that's like kind of humor that, say, Seth MacFarlane of Family Guy fame. I think that's the kind of shit that he does too, where it's like the cutaway to like something ridiculous. I mean, Family Guy does weirder stuff, but like, you know what I mean? No. I actually thought that was a pretty high quality joke. And then the recurrence of spaghetti over and over, I was like, yes, I'm on board with this spaghetti thing. I find the humor to be a lot of and so it's like I said, I do like the Abbott and Costello stuff. That's what I'm nostalgic for. So I can see why you're nostalgic for Marx Brothers if this is what you watched.
But see, I didn't watch. See, I should be correct.
I didn't get
to watch this stuff because it was like, okay. I mean, there's only like the movies really, and then like because Groucho Marx like goes on to like having like a solo career because eventually they kind of like. The brothers break apart, like they just start to like hate each other, I guess. I don't know like the whole story of like how they just don't want to work with one another at all anymore, but Groucho definitely has he has his own TV show. like for a period of time. Like he,
Joni Chachi kind of show, or
like he's You Bet Your Life. But
it sounds violent.
Tell It to Groucho.
What were they about? Were they reality shows?
Well, no, it was a comedy quiz show. You Bet Your Life. Yeah, like if you look it up, there's like the duck's got the bow tie, cigar, and glasses, and the eyebrows. And yeah, no, he was like he became sort of more of like a fixture, I guess, going forward.
I mean, I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
I always thought his mustache was real.
Well, eventually it became real.
I do like how like rigid isn't the right word, but like how it's like an actual rectangle and it like just cuts out and then cuts down. I think it looks nice that way.
Yeah.
Which is cool. What was I going to say? Oh yeah. So a lot of the comedy I find, it's kind of similar to like Abbott and Costello stuff where it's like
wordplay.
Yeah. It's wordplay and it's like, it's this until it's that, or remember this, know that. Like they'll bring something up. It'll be like, do you know this? And they're like, yeah, sure. I know that. And it's like, forget that. And then it like just kind of throws it away. The one line that stuck out to me, like, not that I didn't actually laugh at it, but it just kind of like really stuck in my head for some reason. He's like talking and talking. He's like, do you follow me? And she's like, yeah, I follow you. He's like, okay, don't follow me or else I'm going to call the cops. And then he like keeps going. It's very much like that kind of stuff where it's you bring something up and then you switch it right away afterwards. One that I did like was when he's in that scene and he's ordering about 400 boiled eggs, Cool Hand Luke style. And he's talking about like a steak or something. And he's like, make the steak well done, medium rare, and blue rare or something like that. So there's a lot of like humor like that where it's like make it up, down, left, and right. Like that kind of stuff where it's you're giving like too many parameters that nothing could ever fit that kind of thing. And it's like, I understand that. That's a comedy bit.
You recognize this as comedy.
I say I recognize this as comedy, and it's like I said, there were things that I laughed at, like within those bits themselves, and then there were things that I didn't laugh at. So I was like, I did understand it. I was like, yeah, I see why this is popular, and I was like, I think it actually holds up a lot better than other comedy things that we've watched, like say. What people will review bomb the shit out of this. I don't give a fuck. Monty Python, I think this holds up better than like a lot of Monty Python stuff. And what we talked about earlier, like Mel Brooks, I think this holds up way better than a lot of Mel Brooks stuff. No. But maybe that's just because I never had a huge interest with Mel Brooks. Like I watched a bunch of them, but I was like, I don't know if I actually dig this stuff. Maybe I was too young or too old or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Young Frankenstein, Producers, Blazing Saddles. There's some very good moments, but for the most part, it's kind of like, oh, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
I mean, I fucking love Mongo.
Mongo?
Mongo.
Like a head, like a drive-in, or
Mongo from Blazing Saddles punches the horse. Come on.
Oh, I thought you were talking about. There's something about Mary where he's like, we got this one kid, Mongo.
No.
Head like a drive-in.
No, it's like, oh shit, it's Mongo. Whatever the fuck they'll build up to it is. There's moments, but
yeah, I agree with you on the Mel Brooks front there. So I do think it actually holds up pretty well. And there were a few things that I actually thought were really well done. So I liked the scene when they're on the boat all playing their instruments, because it's like, well, it's like very clearly they're like well-trained musicians on top of being actors and comedians. Like the piano scene where he like flicks his fingers up every time he plays a key. I was like, I think that actually takes like incredible dexterity. So I think it's Chico. I was like, that's super well done. Like that's just showmanship, Jarrett. Showmanship. So I liked the scene on the boat with them doing that. The finale is pretty great. A lot of it, like with Harpo just running around, like going his physical comedy in that scene, I think is pretty great. The one that I actually liked a lot where like he was probably on a harness. Not probably, but like he was on a harness or something where he runs up the curtain.
It's amazing.
It's awesome. Like it honestly looks great. It
looks like a man running up a curtain, because you're like he's trapped, and he's like, well, he's just going to run up, and now you're like, okay, because you could not possibly have like imagine that's where it was going to go, but it's like, yeah, we just did that, and it's live action. It's not a cartoon, and it's like, and it adds to the, like I said, it never breaks its own reality. It just kind of builds. Like everything is like that. It's like the gags in this are pretty amazing. Like the guys they were working with when they were drafting this up, and it wasn't just like these like men, like these brothers figuring out all these gimmicks. Like they were being given ideas by like professional like comedy writers, and like they started over in scraps. There's like this one how does it go, quote, in an interview with Richard J. Annabelle in the Marx Brothers scrapbook, Groucho said he was so appalled by an early draft of the script, which was apparently written by Bert Kalmer and Harry Ruby, that he shouted, "Why fuck around with second-rate talent? Get Kaufman and Reiskin to write the screenplay." There's like the one bit about the States Room saying, this scene was written primarily by legendary gag man Al Bossberg. Famously eccentric, Bossberg typed up the finished scene, then shredded the pages into thin strip pieces and tacked them to his ceiling. It took Irving Thalberg and his brothers hours to cut and paste the scene back together. Why? But why? Like, what?
I don't know why, Jer.
Yeah.
It's a good question, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, there is writers to these things, and I mean, I think they are doing their own stuff that they've developed. Like the contract scene is like them working off of they take these two characters of like this imbecile and this smartass, and like trying to make them like come together at all times, and they're always vying for like they're battling out whose reality wins, and then they eventually settle on this like the most absurd level possible.
I think that's actually kind of what I was thinking too, because like, so when I saw the curtain thing, what it actually kind of reminded me of was like Looney Tunes, and it's like that kind of absurdist stuff, and that's why I actually like. I know you like this stuff too, so I was like, I kind of get where these things kind of mash together, like the Looney Tunes with elements of Marx Brothers stuff, and like all those other things you're interested in, like those things that are illegal in a lot of places, like they all kind of overlap with each other. Do you know what I mean, Jer?
Oh yeah, I love my legalities.
So no, I did actually think about that a little bit when I was watching this, because I was like, oh, it's kind of like Looney Tunes in this last little bit, and I think that's why Jarrett digs it so much. I didn't actually know what you thought about this movie. I didn't look into it. I just know you're an old man and you love that kind of that kind of stuff. So I did like the little scene at the end there, and my all-time favorite line. So Andrea actually, she came down and she watched like, I don't know, like 20 minutes, like near the end with me. Just because like I was watching it early this morning, so she wasn't up yet, and she came down and watched, and it's one of the opera singers at the end, and she's like, her makeup is kind of ghoulish, and she's kind of a thin, frail lady, and Groucho's up in the boxes, kind of like yucking with all the people, and he goes, imagine feeling the way she looks, and even Andrea kind of like she was like, that's really funny. I was like, that is really funny. And she was like, when was this movie made? Like late 40s? I was like, 35 actually. She's like, that's a pretty sick joke for 35. I was like, I agree. Imagine feeling the way she looks. It was like, whoa, it's a sick burn, Jarrett. A sick burn. So yeah, no, I think it's pretty good. Like it's like I said, there are some jokes I thought were really funny, like that one. That was actually super funny. And there were some things that I was like, not totally landing with me, but I do think on a whole it holds up a lot better than some of the Mel Brooks Monty Python stuff. So
how about that W.C. Fields?
The Bank Dick?
Yeah.
I mean, the Bank Dick was not bad, but the shorts, I don't know, man.
No, those aren't good.
You know what I never brought up? I forgot. You know who talks about W.C. Fields all the time? Tony Soprano. When I was watching Sopranos, he brings up like Bank Dick and like a lot of W.C. Fields like talks, and I never knew what it was the first time I watched Sopranos like years ago.
That sounds like a screenwriter talking for Tony Soprano.
Well, that's what I thought. I was like, there's no way Tony Soprano's into Bank Dick, but he does. Like there's a lot of scenes where it's like whenever he goes home and he's just eating ice cream, he's watching like black and white, like either westerns or comedy. So
then in that case, he's a big Fieldsman.
Yeah, but he would be like every other asshole on Letterboxd. He'd be like, I like westerns, Japanese films, and black and white comedies.
Anime.
And anime. What do you think Tony Soprano's favorite anime is?
Ninja Scroll, of course.
Oh, good call. Good call. Yeah, 100%.
He borrowed it from Christopher.
Chris is like, hey, Tone, I got this movie. I think you might like it. Tone?
What the fuck is that shit?
He's like, what was up with all the rape?
He like, that's, that's sick.
Oh, that's sick. You got a sick mind.
And then they just start bootlegging it, selling it all across America.
That it would be paired up with Cleaver, his horror film.
What do you think about this exchange, though, between the characters?
Okay.
Otis B. Driftwood. Do you know America is waiting to hear him sing? Fiorello. Well, he can sing loud, but he can't sing that loud.
I did notice that one, and I thought it was pretty funny. That's Chico for you.
That's Chico. Chico, he sees it. He sees the line, and I don't know. I can't believe how good that character in his fucking hat, that little like, weird little pointy peasant hat or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. It's like it's absurd, but it's so iconic because he always has it.
Yep, it's good. That's a good one.
He's a good little grifter.
Nice. What other hotlines you got there?
I don't know. Sometimes when you read through them, you're like, that's not even one of my favorites. But yeah, here's the bit where it's Groucho has inadvertently knocked out La Sperry, and then Fiorello comes across him. Where was that? Dun, 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 dun. It's something about like what happened to him. It's like
he goes, he pulled a knife. He pulled a knife, so I shot him.
We got into an argument. Yeah. And they just say that, and he's like, huh. And then he just like also puts his foot on him. They just like they're fine with this.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that. There's a scene where there's multiple people getting hit on the head with frying pans, and Andrew was like, "That was really the thing back then, hey?" I was like, "I guess. I don't know." What else were you gonna say?
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, no, that was a good one. I also like to talk about duplicates in Canada.
Oh,
it made me think of like a potential David Cronenberg movie called Duplicates, where it's like maybe Cronenberg's son, because he did that one antiviral movie or whatever.
And he's got a new one too.
He does?
Yeah.
I've never even seen antiviral.
Oh yeah, you wouldn't like it.
I wouldn't like antiviral. Is it too gross?
Yeah, it's got that kid. Oh yeah, Possessor. That's the new Brandon Cronenberg movie.
Brandon.
Assassination of the Mind.
So what's going to happen in this Possessor?
I don't know. I don't know if it'll have any Marx Brothers references though.
Well, it's because he's not 85. I'm guessing.
Oh, he could be.
Right. Huh?
You never like went to like Smitty's restaurant dressed in like a cardigan and an old man hat and have like a little breakfast special.
I know you 100% did.
Maybe order off the senior menu. Get some liver and onions.
What do you? What's your go-to at say a Denny's or a Humpty's or a Smitty's?
Usually some sort of like omelet sandwich.
Whoa! Is it an omelet or is it a sandwich?
It's both. Can you believe it?
I've never seen such a thing on a menu. So it's like a folded up omelet just in some bread or what?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's almost as good as this movie.
One time I was at Humpty's and I got these like sausages and something, and I had the worst food poisoning in my entire life, and my brother got it too. It was horrendous, Jarrett. Horrendous for like 2 days.
Was it the drizzling shits?
That's the thing you said earlier. That's what it was.
See, that's how you don't do comedy.
What, drizzling shits or?
You want to hear about who hates this?
Sure.
This
Why
movie?
not?
Half a star by Faye Drellentine.
Okay.
Comedy fucking sucks. Couldn't finish it.
Oh, weird. What a weird person. I mean, that's kind of a funny review. All their favorite films are the Resident Evil movies, which at a glance, it's like, okay, well, whatever. But when I went to their 5-star films, they have stuff like Shanghai Express, In a Lonely Place with Bogart, Akiru, My Darling Clementine. So like, Picnic at a Hanging Rock, 5 stars. What the fuck? So very clearly a Criterion person. Their only half-star films are A Night at the Opera and Inception.
Huh.
So that's bizarre. I don't know what's going on with this person. All right.
Here's another half star from Greg Bender.
Okay.
What I liked. What I disliked. No, I didn't forget to put anything in the what I liked section. There simply was nothing in this movie I cared for. I was excited going in, knowing I would finally get to see a Marx Brothers movie after knowing for a long time that they ruled the big screen in their day as the kings of comedy. Not only were they not funny, but I was so disinterested that I spaced out at times. Wow. As I've mentioned in other reviews, there is definitely a disconnect between what was once funny and what is now funny. Grade 0.5 out of 5. Poor. Rationale. Probably the worst movie I've seen to date, since none of the others were so bad that I stopped paying attention.
I don't want to say Greg Bender is a basic B, but favorite films include Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, The Dark Knight, and The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise.
Whoa!
Which is bizarre.
I think that sounds like the wrong movie.
Yeah. So this person is an avid movie lover with a movie ticket stub collection dating back to Titanic, 1998.
Wow.
There's some weird stuff here, man. So like the 5-star films are kind of like, it's kind of what you'd expect, I guess. So it's all Christopher Nolan stuff, and then Creed, Whiplash, and like Star Wars. So you're like, okay, I kind of get what you're saying. Here's some half-star films, Jarrett. A Night at the Opera, Andrei Rublev, Tree of Life, Metropolis, and The Passion of Joan of Arc, the undisputed favorite film of both of ours in the first 100 of the Criterion films. So I don't know what Greg's deal is, man. Very bizarre. They gave Tokyo Story 1 star, Annie Hall 1 star, Seventh Seal 1 star, Manhattan and Blue Velvet 1 star, Princess Mononoke 1 star, Do the Right Thing 1 star. Not good.
Not good.
Not good. Huh.
I don't know if there's much hope for Greg.
I don't think so, dude. That's pretty big disparity.
Pretty big. One more. There's a lot of negative, a lot of low scores. This is like got to be like the most negativity I've ever seen for like one of the movies we've talked about. It's really strange. 1 star from Alex. Where Alex just writes, the Marx Brothers are absolutely insufferable.
This person's favorite movie is Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. And In Bruges. They have a podcast called No Refunds Podcast. I'm not going to look into what that's about because, frankly, I don't care. A lot of Overwatch animes with 5 stars, whatever that means. Layer Cake 5 stars. What? Blazing Saddles 5 stars. Look at that, Jer. Half stars are mostly bad movie. Under the Skin, half a star. Whoa. Half a star to Welcome to Mooseport, the final movie from Gene Hackman. What is going on here? That's bizarre. Hey, can I bring up a half a star or 1 star review for you? So I just saw this.
It's episode 200.
It's episode 200. Why not? This name stuck out to me because this is actually a person who follows me from Calgary, Alberta. A person named Wood. He said,
Wood.
1 star. Not sure what I was expecting. I'm not much of a Marx Brothers fan, and I sure as shit hate opera. Even the vaudeville joke, a second act, couldn't keep me on board for this one. So this person still follows me. They have a movie podcast called Movie Epidemic. Favorite films include Color Out of Space, Face Off, Con Air, and Mandy. So they're doing something. 606 5-star reviews, Jarrett. Or 5-star films.
Tough.
Tough.
Cool.
Yep. Yeah, I just thought I would. It's not very often you see someone from close to Creepsville, so I thought I'd bring that up for you. But
Outstanding.
yep.
Any other thoughts?
No, I thought it was good. I don't have a sentimental attachment to it, but you know, I thought it was good. I liked it more than I thought.
Would you watch more Marx Brothers films?
Yeah, I would. I would.
Nice. That's a win.
Yep.
That's a W.
I don't know if I would ever rewatch Mel Brooks movies. Probably.
Well, you're going you will be.
Yeah,
that's at least producers you'll be watching one of these days.
And I mean, Monty Python's okay. It's just not my favorite.
Yeah. What is your favorite?
Have you ever heard of Adam Sandler, Jarrett?
I'm aware of his work.
You ever seen Basketball?
No, that's not Adam Sandler.
You ever seen Dirty Work, directed by Bob Saget?
I have.
That's my favorite. Okay.
All right.
Yep.
After the break, I drop a heavy object on RJ's head, and we all laugh, but his brain doesn't.
It's a hate crime, buddy.